Bienvenidos! Soy Ana de Aprende con Flowers. My videos do build off of the previous one, so if you haven't seen my video on vowels, you're missing out. I have an announcement, guys. So, as you can tell, I do have a new logo. Not just here, but here on my YouTube channel and on my website. That is all thanks to my wonderful brother-in-law, Ecko. Links to his Instagram and Amazon store will be in the description below. Now let's begin. Today is part 1 of 3 on consonants. And that's because we have a lot of information to go over, and it's easier if it's broken down into more manageable chunks. So, what are consonants? Consonants are letters that are not vowels. We have, well, I like to divide them into 2 different groups. We have regular consonants and irregular consonants. We will be talking about the regular consonants in this video. Regular consonants are consonants whose sound does not change no matter where they are in a word and no matter what vowels they're next to. We will be going over B and V because they can be the trickiest for most people. So let's take a look. For B, we have ba, be, bi, bo, bu. And for V, we have va, ve, vi, vo, vu. Okay, so there is a rule that I don't necessarily agree with, but it might help you guys. So if the B or the V is in the beginning of a word, or after a L, M, or N, it's more pronounced. So if we look at voto, voto, some people you might hear a person with a lazy tongue that goes voto, right? But then there's also invierno, which means winter. Sorry, voto means I vote. Invierno means winter. So you might get someone with a lazy tongue that doesn't necessarily follow this rule, but it could help. One other word for the B's is boca. Boca. Okay? Boca means mouth. So you could hear someone else who said bo or boca. You wouldn't hear so much with the B, but it's the B that really gets people. But we have words, my favorite thing, because I am a freeze baby. It's sabana. Sabana is a sheet, or in my household we use it as a thin blanket, but that could be savana or sabana. You can also think of the word for Saturday in Spanish, which is sábados. Sábado. Now let's take a look at che and de, okay? So che goes cha, che, chi, cho, chu. And then we have di. Da, de, di, do, du. One thing that I didn't notice was tricky about D for people is that sometimes with words, it can sound like a TH sound. So we have when D is at the beginning of a word, then it's more pronounced, like in donde, right? That means where. But then we also have boda, boda, boda. You see how the D does sort of sound like a TH? But don't worry if you say boda. People will still understand. Or your tongue would just get used to it and it'll flow like a natural. Now we have F and J. For F we have fa, fe, fi, fo, fu. And for J we have ha, he, hi, ho, hu. If you think of them as replacing the English H, it'll sort of make sense to you. If it doesn't, then forget I said anything. But with that confusion, I do have a video for you guys.
Anthony, give me a boy's name that starts with the letter H. Jose.
For K and W, we have ka, ke, ki, ko, ku. For W, we have wa, we, wo, wu. Now you might be asking me, Anna, why did you put the K and W together? Well, it's because they're not really used in Spanish unless they're used for a word that originated outside of the language or a word that's being adapted into the language. So with the kas, we have the first one, we have ka, right? That is usually seen in the form of ka. And for que, we have the que de queso, right? For ki, we have the very similar ki. And for ko and ku, both are replaced by si. So you won't see K that much unless it's like in karate, kiwi, koala, words that don't originate from the Spanish language. Now, why W? Well, because it also isn't really seen in the Spanish language. Because for wa, as we went over with vowels, all the wa sounds are usually done in a form of a diphthong. So let's take a look at all of these, right? We have wa, we, wo, and just you. Now we have el and ella. For el, we have la, le, li, lo, lu. For ella, if you want to think of it as having more of a ye sound, that's probably about the easiest way I can think of explaining it. So we have ya, ye, yi, yo, you. You will see these very, very much. So try to get used to that. If you have troubles, let me know in the comments below, and I can try to help you the best I can. Now we have M and N, which are pretty similar to their English counterparts. We have ma, me, mi, mo, mu. And for N, na, ne, ni, no, nu. Okay? Next up is Enya and P. The real way I can think of helping you with this one is to think of Enya being pronounced as a N, ye. Okay? So let's take a look. We have nya, nye, ni, nyo, nyu. You will see these a lot, and the more you practice it, the more it will feel natural to you. With the P, same as its English counterpart, we have pa, pe, pi, po, pu. Next up are the R's. They can be tricky because the single R can often be rolled like the double R if it's at the beginning of a word or if it's after a L, N, or S. But let's take a look. We have ra, re, ri, ro, ru. For the double R, very similar, we have ra, re, ri, ro, ru. See how I try to trill it a little extra longer? It can be tricky, but if you know another language, or if you try to do it from the back of your throat, I've learned how to do this for words in Arabic, but you can try that, see if that helps, or just try to get your tongue comfortable and then blow air with your tongue at the top. Not sure if that helps, but we'll try to get it done. Next up is S and T. We have sa, se, si, so, su. For T, we have ta, te, ti, to, tu. Just a reminder, H is always silent. Unless, of course, it's a word that didn't originate in the language, like hockey, or a name, a proper name, like Hawaii. Okay? We have covered a lot of information, and we have so few to go. But for those ones, you'll have to check out in part 2. So stay tuned. Gracias por acompañarme en este viaje de aprendizaje.